I promised the TNA Wrestling fans, I promised TNA, I promised myself, if I lose, I will retire.
There's only two things I do know. That Kevin Nash and Sting will be in the ring in Daytona Beach, and we're there to give the world the answers.
With Bound for Glory being TNA's biggest pay-per-view, that really raises the stakes. That means this is their big moment when they expect the most people to tune in, and the one chance, the one night that's gonna represent everything that TNA is about. I'm all over that. I came to TNA and I changed what it was about, so I'm the one driving that car.
We all know that something like this only comes along once every year for TNA itself. But 10-10-10, this thing is gonna be so big that it only comes once in a century, you understand? We're talking about the events that define, the one single event that defines not just TNA, but professional wrestling, man. Bound for Glory is gonna be big, it's gonna be huge, it's gonna be off the charts. You understand what Pope's saying?
To have earned a spot in this match, to begin with, on the biggest pay-per-view of the year, for a company that I love, that I believe in, that I give every ounce of effort to, that has reignited my passion for wrestling, for this business. And this is why I'm here.
All the work and the effort behind the scenes as well as in front of the camera throughout the year eventually is geared toward Bound for Glory, and this year's no exception.
TNA is the company to watch now. TNA grows and gathers more viewers every day. Our audience increases, the awareness increases. We've got the greatest wrestlers in the business right now in TNA, and the company brings a lot to the table, a lot of entertainment value and a lot of great, skilled professional wrestling.
10-10-10 sounds like a perfect day for the perfect storm. We think it's a sign that big things are expected and will be delivered. And I know what it's like to work in a big money atmosphere, and that is what this is.
There are times that the focus is put on the greatness of athletes. TNA, there's times when, wrestlers go out there and they transcend what's expected of them. And every time there's ever been a Bound for Glory, those moments have occurred. And I guarantee you this Bound for Glory will be no different.
Bound for Glory is our biggest pay-per-view of the year, and I predict this will be the biggest pay-per-view in our company's history.
On October 10th, it's TNA Wrestling's biggest event in company history, Bound for Glory. Former TNA World Champion Rob Van Dam makes his epic return to pay-per-view as he seeks redemption against the Monster Abyss. The Nature Boy Ric Flair and Fortune go to war against the hardcore legend Mick Foley and EV2 inside Lethal Lockdown. And a new TNA World Heavyweight Champion will be crowned. Mr. Anderson, Kurt Angle, and Jeff Hardy will battle in a three-way main event for the TNA World title. Before the first bell sounds, TNA Wrestling will take a look at the fighters, the athletes, the men, and the monsters as TNA Productions travels coast to coast to bring you the interviews you can't see anywhere else. TNA Wrestling proudly presents Before the Bell, Bound for Glory. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, home of the 1996 Olympic gold medalist and 13-time World Heavyweight Champion, Kurt Angle.
For the first time in my career, I feel like I did in the 1996 Olympic Games. I feel like I need to prove something all over again. And what I've done is I haven't taken the easy way this time. I haven't taken the easy route. I decided to climb my way up the ladder and earn my spot. And it's because I'm at a point in my career where if I can't prove to everybody, including the other wrestlers and the world and all the great TNA wrestling fans, if I can't prove to them that I can be the champion at 41 years of age and keep going the way I do, It's hard for me to say this, and I get a little bit choked up thinking about it, but you know, it's not worth me doing it anymore. If I can't give my best and know that I gave my best out there and my best was good enough and I won the TNA World Heavyweight title, that would mean more to me now than anything else. But if I gave my best and I fell short, then I'm not washed up. I'll never say I'm washed up, but then it's time for me to step out.
Kurt Angle is on a quest for title number 14, vowing to retire from the sport of professional wrestling if he's unable to achieve the goal he's set for himself.
I have been champion before, many times. I've won 13 World Olympic titles, but I've never been more prepared than I am now. Physically, mentally, spiritually, psychologically, I am so focused on winning that I can't lose. So when I go to Bound for Glory, I will not be anything less happy than winning that title and knowing I either pin Jeff Hardy or Mr. Anderson.
Kurt's focus, determination, drive, and motivation to win is at an all-time high.
It's all about business. It's all about who wants to be the best, who's gonna step up, like Hulk Hogan said. He said he's looking for the next guy to step up to be the champion. I believe that's me.
His climb back to the top of TNA Wrestling has not been easy. And Kurt knows that his three-way match between Mr. Anderson and Jeff Hardy will be another mountain to climb.
Going into this pay-per-view, we all want the title just as much as any of us. It's really up for grabs, but you gotta remember, what makes this match so special is not the fact that it's one-on-one, but I'm going into this match believing in my mind, in my heart, my soul, that it's 1 against 2. It's not one-on-one. What do I know what's gonna happen in this match? I know that I am the most dangerous wrestler in the world. So it would be beneficial for Mr. Anderson and Jeff Hardy to team up against me.
Is Kurt Angle still the best wrestler in the world today? On October 10th, we will find out.
Am I the hardest working man in wrestling? I'd like to think so. That's how I've stayed on top of my game. Any wrestler that has wrestled me will tell you I'm the most intense wrestler. I don't have any other speed but full speed. You know, a lot of guys like to slow it down. A lot of guys go half speed. I have to go full speed. And if my opponent can't stay with me, I'll leave him in the dirt.
Will this be Angle's last match in TNA Wrestling? Mr. Anderson's rise to the top of TNA Wrestling has been fast and furious. Last month, he defeated the Pope at No Surrender to earn his spot in the main event.
I got into this business to win championships and make money and travel the world. And I've traveled the world and I've made money. But, you know, for some reason that title, the championships just keep eluding me. And I'm gonna put a stop to that. I plan on putting a stop to that on 10-10-10.
Anderson is a man of controversy and never short on words. His confidence only grows with each win.
Vince Lombardi said it best. Winning isn't everything, it's the only thing. And, you know, that's true for me in this business. I've always been competitive. I really don't know why or where that came from. I guess it had to do with my upbringing to a degree. You know, my grandfather, my father, my mother telling me that if you're gonna, you know, my dad used to tell me all the time, if when I'd do chores around the house, he'd tell me, you know, I'd screw something up. If you're not gonna do it right, the first time, don't bother doing it at all. And that's the way that I've approached everything in my life.
Mr. Anderson currently resides outside New York City, where he has learned to balance his life inside and out of the ring.
This is my new golf simulator. I just had this baby installed, and I love this room. I absolutely love this room.
His attention to detail and ability to see things in the ring his opponents don't always give Anderson the upper hand.
This is what I do before each one of my big matches. I come in here and study tapes, whether it be matches that I've had with the opponent that I'm about to face, or matches that that person has had with other people. I study tape after tape after tape. Kurt, Jeff, nice guys finished last.
Anderson has not held TNA gold since arriving in the company last January, but feels that his time is now.
I do have something to prove. I have yet to capture that major title in this industry. I definitely feel like I have to prove something, and I will do that. It's just a matter of when and where. I think that when and where is going to be in Daytona Beach.
Jeff Hardy is arguably the most popular wrestler in the industry today. His star power is second to none, and his in-ring ability will leave you speechless. He is nothing short of extreme. Hardy also returned to TNA Wrestling for a second run back in January and knows that coming up short at Bound for Glory is not an option.
I think to be a TNA World Heavyweight Champion, it means you're pretty much the best in the world because TNA is the freshest, the dopest company in professional wrestling right now. It's so alternative and so new and real. So it says a lot that if you're the TNA champion, you're pretty much on top of the world. You're the headliner of Earth when you're the TNA champion because you are the best, and that's how I would cherish that if I was the champion.
His sights are set on the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. Will he be able to wear this title belt for the first time on 10-10-10?
Jeff Hardy is the next TNA World Heavyweight Champion because I've killed myself for this for years, and I've been world champion before, but never the TNA World Champion. So it's extremely important to me because I don't know how much longer I have left in wrestling because after the last few weeks leading up to Bound for Glory, it's been some of the hardest shows I've ever had to be a part of. But to become the TNA World Champion, Jeff Hardy would represent the people. He would represent everything I live for, which is entertaining the fans. And like I've said many times, without them, I wouldn't even be what I am right now because they've provided me with such a lifestyle. I could never thank them enough. And I'd basically be one of the best champions of all time because everybody knows and understands I go out there and kill myself for this. And I'll do whatever it takes, and I put my body on the line each and every night, and I think the fans truly respect me for that, and I respect them back by hopefully becoming the TNA World Champion.
Three men that respect each other for accomplishments inside the ring and out. But this is the TNA World Championship match on TNA Wrestling's biggest stage of them all, Bound for Glory. They all come from different backgrounds. They have different approaches, but their goal is the TNA Gold. On 10-10-10, who will walk out of Daytona Beach with the TNA World Heavyweight Championship? The monster Abyss has been on a path of destruction ever since becoming involved with the mysterious They. On 10-10-10, Abyss has promised to reveal who they are.
I have no repercussions. I have no feelings of guilt. I feel nothing. They're taking TNA and turning it upside down on its head with the systematic extermination of each and every member of the TNA roster. And it started with Rob Van Dam.
Since joining forces with his new allies, Abyss has been on a mission, destroying everything in his path, including the former TNA World Champion, Rob Van Dam.
The reason that I left RVD ripped and tattered and shredded in a pool of his own blood was because they instructed me to do so.
When you've been around wrestling as long as I have, you're not shocked and surprised by too many things. But when you saw the developments in that horrific, that sick, brutal beating, I think a lot of us who have been in this business for many years were taken aback.
I was getting loaded into the ambulance. I already knew I was going to be coming back. RVD's a spirit. The flesh, this is just my vehicle. You can't destroy me unless you kill my spirit.
After the brutal attack on the champ, the TNA Championship Committee was left with no choice but to strip RVD of the title and put the gold up for grabs.
Anytime someone takes you out to the level that Abyss took out Van Dam in that horrific, violent, masochistic way, you got to think about it. If you're Rob Van Dam, you want to take Abyss apart.
Now, after returning home to California to recover, the whole effing show is back and out for blood.
That mere ability for Rob Van Dam to get back into the ring at Bound for Glory is a real surprise and a real shock to me. Just the fact that he's going to be competing. And conversations that I've had with him, he tells me that the doctors have not signed off, that he's not 100% clear to come back.
There's no way he can be at 100% by Bound for Glory. I'm concerned about him coming back too soon and the long-term repercussions from that.
My rehabilitation has been going excellent. How many wrestlers have 20 years experience in the ring but still be enjoying their physical prime? Not too many.
Rob Van Dam, they told me to eliminate you. And the only mistake I made was that night that Janice tore into your flesh. I didn't finish the job that night.
After months of rehabilitation from one of the most brutal attacks in the history of professional wrestling, RVD has set his sights on revenge.
There's a score to settle, for sure. And like I said, it's all about balancing things out. And I kind of owe him some pain, some humiliation, something to really think about. I'm gonna destroy Abyss.
On October 10th, RVD and Abyss will clash on TNA's biggest stage, Bound for Glory in Monsters Ball.
The Monsters Ball is the most destructive, horrific match that one can participate in.
Why risk anything? Why even step into the ring anytime if you're not willing to put it all on the line? What am I gonna do, like wait till it's more convenient and hope that another chance comes up further on down the road that's gonna be a good time to step into the ring with Abyss? No, it's not what I do. The opportunity's here and I'm taking it.
As much as I hate to say it, I think I'm gonna go with what at this point would be the stronger competitor, and that's Abyss. And I'm gonna pick Abyss just because I don't think that RVD may be 100% ready yet.
I think we're gonna feel the wrath of Rob Van Dam, Mr. TNA, at Bound for Glory on the Monster Abyss. So, prediction? I'll tell you what, I don't think Van Dam's 100%, and I don't think he has to be. I predict Van Dam's gonna win the match against Abyss.
Abyss will also reveal the answer to the question that has the world asking, who is they?
Obviously, just like anyone else that's even paid attention to TNA, yeah, I'm very curious who they are.
Are you really that ignorant to ask me the question who they are?
On 10-10-10, the mystery will finally unfold.
They're gonna get you into trouble. In fact, they already have, because now I'm coming after you, Abyss. You know who that is you left lying on the floor? It's Rob Van Dam. The whole show.
On 10-10-10, at the Monsters Ball, at Bound for Glory, when they arrive, we will celebrate their arrival with your termination. At Bound for Glory, I'm gonna murder you.
There is a disease festering in TNA Wrestling. For months, the icon Sting has been alluding to a bigger picture, one that reeks of deception.
You want me to let you in on the picture, behind the scenes? The funny thing is, it's not behind the scenes. It's in the wide open. It's out there for everybody to see. Just pay close attention. Yeah, no, there is something going on here, but I'm not gonna talk about it because I've been here before. It doesn't do any good to open my mouth and try to give answers. I've tried to do that, and in the past, it comes back to bite.
Sting and I sat down and Sting told me what he knew. I did some investigating. I found some information out. I found exactly what he said was true.
A man with personal interest in the success of TNA Wrestling is the company's founder, Jeff Jarrett.
Sting, you know, people want to say the dark side was coming out of him. Nash sort of joined in the bandwagon when their platform became what I hated to see. They saw the emergence not only of Hogan and Bischoff, coming on board in 2010, but just, all the talent. The landscape was changing in TNA, and being the founder of TNA, it's something that I was very proud of, and I don't really think Sting and Nash looked at it that way.
People have always said, in this business, like, who's the greatest worker? They use the term worker. And it's like, there's wrestlers that can do all kind of magical things out there, and there's workers. Workers are the guys that get paid. That's what a worker is. Nobody's got more money in this business than Hulk Hogan. He is the ultimate worker.
Do I have any issues with Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff? I'd have to say, obviously. Obviously, I do. Deep issues.
Every time those guys come in, it's always about them. Hogan's greedy, Hogan wants money, Hogan wants power, Bischoff wants power, they want control, they want to dominate. They basically are going to run this, company in the ground. And, Dixie thinks that, bringing in Hulk was somehow, going to save the company. He was going to be our saving grace. And, the guy's a snake.
Did I have a problem with Eric Bischoff and Hulk Hogan coming on board in TNA? Absolutely not. Did Bischoff and Hogan think that I had a problem with them? They absolutely did, and I can see that. But I think once we got on the same page and both sides realized what's best for TNA is what needs to happen. But it's when that train gets off track and, Nash wants to make decisions based on what's best for Nash, or Sting wants to make decisions what's best, based on what's for Sting, it gets derailed.
Right now, people are having a hard time determining, who's wearing the white hat, who's wearing the black hat. That's fine. I said, Steve and I know exactly where we stand.
Those guys are still on top in this business, not so much for their in-ring ability, that's what got them there, but to keep them there is their backstage political positioning, and there comes a time when that's not good for business, and I'm all about what's good for TNA, period.
Yeah, I can see right through Jeff. He's got some people swerved. He's part of the problem. Really, hasn't he always been?
With the immortal Hulk Hogan personally recruiting Samoa Joe, Jeff Jarrett finally evened the odds.
As far as me and Jeff Jarrett goes, he can plead his case, he can cry and whine all he wants about, needing me out there, but let's face it, me and Jeff have a long, sordid history, and it's never been a friendly one. So I don't know why he would assume that I would come to his rescue when all of a sudden he's in dire need of friends. Hulk Hogan's a different story. To have Hulk Hogan picking up his telephone, calling me, saying, please, Joe, come help me, help Jeff, help us handle this situation. Well, it made the situation a little bit more interesting.
Every war needs a platoon of good soldiers, but the Samoan submission machine Samoa Joe is an army unto himself.
To inflict pain on Joe I know I'm not going to beat any sense into him. He's already decided what he's decided. They've swayed him. And I think what they're trying to do with us is they're trying to divide and conquer Sting and I. You're gonna work us to death, and hopefully one of us breaks down. One of us goes down, now what? Now it's either Sting or I fighting the good fight. And then when that guy goes down, there is no opposition. Smooth sailing for Hogan and company, once again.
It's funny, I keep hearing about so-and-so being a cancer in TNA. Sting and Nash are cancers in TNA. And then, they fire right back and say Jeff Jarrett's a cancer in TNA, and everybody's talking about who's a cancer, who is destroying TNA from the inside. I think what all these people fail to realize is that if they're cancers, I'm a pandemic. I mean, what are you gonna do when they unleash me? How are you gonna control this? How are you gonna quarantine a force like me? I mean, boys, you can sit there and try to cure cancer all you want, but just know at the end of the day, I'll be affecting more of you than you'll ever imagine.
He thinks he's unbeatable, and at times he is. So going into battle with Joe, they got their work cut out, I guarantee you that, because we're coming to win, and that's what it's about at Bound for Glory.
As Nash and Sting remain ambiguously outspoken about the Great Conspiracy, another man has claimed to have seen the light.
So everyone is saying, well, what's going on? What is it? What is this whole deception thing? Who's what and what is who and why is they? And then we're gonna talk about Pope D'Angelo De Niro himself, someone who is from the streets, and what that means, my friend, is when you're around here trying to play games. I'm talking about Bischoff, I'm talking about Hogan, I'm talking about this whole thing that's been going on with TNA management. You cannot play a player, but my friend, you will get played. You understand that?
The Pope has a problem with Eric Bischoff. We have a problem with Eric Bischoff. At least one of the young stars that we have on the roster is not completely hoodwinked on what's going on. It seems that, he's asked some questions. He's got a little bit of clarity.
Somebody who gets it. Somebody who can read the undercurrent. Somebody who can see, period. He just gets it.
Pope's been in TNA over a year, and tremendous talent. I've always been a big supporter of Pope. But the turn of events and how he's handled things, it's another sign of truly inexperience when he's blaming everybody but himself for not being in the world title picture. And that don't float with me.
Jeff Jarrett is the founder of TNA, and we give him that credit. Pope credits him for founding this organization. We're talking about somebody who is a multi-time heavyweight champion. You can't take that away from him. But what you can do is judge a man based on his character. And right now, my friend, the character of Jeff Jarrett is one that does not hold favor with Pope. Same thing goes for Samoa Joe. Being led blindly, if you will. Someone that has joint forces with a darker side.
As for what I know about the Pope, I don't know much. I know that he walks out there with a lot of bravado and seems to be able to spit a good game, but outside of that, I don't see why he thinks he can step in that ring and fare any differently than anybody else that stepped in the ring with me. I don't see how that confidence, how that jewelry, how his fancy sunglasses and his cute little mask that he wears to the ring are gonna make me wonder if he's possibly a threat to what I do. He's not, and he won't be.
With so many questions left unanswered, when can TNA Wrestling fans expect to learn the truth once and for all?
Again, it won't be my words, but it'll be actions. I'm gonna do everything I can to make sure that people know by 10-10-10.
Nash and Sting and Pope are all seeing this big picture, but they don't want to talk about it to anybody. The three of them do have something in common. They're not getting what they want. I've seen it before in this business, I'll see it again, and their house of cards will fall.
There's only two things I do know. That Kevin Nash and Sting will be in the ring in Daytona Beach, and we're there to give the world the answers.
Coming off of Hardcore Justice, EV2 was riding high until the lights went out. Responsible was Fortune, Ric Flair's own hand-picked stable. Their mission was to eliminate the threat EV2 posed to their power.
This feud that's been going on between Fortune and EV2 has gotten out of control. I wanted to do a good thing for one night and had every right to do that in my position. The fans wanted it, I wanted to see it happen. And, Rick decided to take offense to it and really made it personal.
EV2 is a gimmick. It's a theory. It's a gimmick that didn't work. Anybody can say it did, but it didn't. If it had worked, it'd be around right now. They'd own their own company. They'd be successful.
Let's face it, these guys that Ric Flair's assembled, they are the future of the wrestling business. You might say that a lot of guys in EV2 are on the last leg of their journey.
These guys need to know their place. You know, they had a place in history in wrestling. You know, Dixie Carter said that she believes they are to the 90s of what Hulk Hogan was to the 80s. Well, they should have stayed in the 90s because this is our time.
We're gonna destroy them. We're gonna get rid of them. We're gonna wipe them off the face of this earth.
Whatever power Fortune meant to contain was now answered with violence by EV2.
We're going to show you what hatred is all about, because now we have a new focus of hatred, and that hatred is for what you did. You took out our friends in front of each other. You have no clue.
We are the better men. We are the better athletes. We are the better wrestlers, and that's the bottom line.
EV2 and Fortune will settle this score once and for all in the brutal, violent, lethal lockdown.
There's not a match better in wrestling for these guys to settle this in the fashion, especially the EV2 guys are used to having, than Lethal Lockdown. So I expect this one to be really intense.
These guys they're past their prime. Yeah, some of them can still go, but nothing compared to what we can do.
This is it, man. This is the final showdown between us. This is bragging rights. This is us showing them that we're better.
In such an extreme match like Lethal Lockdown, what will it mean to Fortune to finally defeat EV2 and rid them forever? It would just mean that, we would prove that we're the best. Here we are in Lethal Lockdown inside a steel cage with a roof that lowers down with weapons of mass destruction.
This is the ideal environment for EV2. There's no place to run. There's no place to hide. It's not a cage match. It's a Lethal Lockdown match. So we're going to be very, very comfortable. We're going to be like children on Christmas morning getting to play with all their toys.
A key element for us is Mick Foley in our corner to counteract Ric Flair. These two guys legit don't like each other. I was there when they got into a fist fight in catering, in a lunchroom, over comments about a book. And they have a long-rooted history of personal discontent for each other.
What do I think about Mick Foley being at ringside? Because Flair's gonna be at ringside. Oh.
Last time I checked, Ric Flair was a wrestling god. God. Last time I seen Mick Foley, he looked like a pack of mustard, for God's sakes.
What's Mick Foley gonna do to Ric Flair? Mick Foley's a beat up, washed up has-been. Actually, he really never was. He's a joke.
I can't ensure that Ric Flair won't get involved, but I can ensure that if he does, he'll have company. So I look forward to another opportunity to be face-to-face with Ric Flair.
I just hope that Mick Foley doesn't get hurt. If he messes with me, he'll get hurt.
The battle lines have been drawn, and the end game is near. The power to control TNA Wrestling is up for grabs.
I feel bad for all of you, because you're all gonna leave that cage hurt.
It's a sad way to end your career. Why you'd want to get in the ring in basically a no holds barred, anything goes kind of match. You guys are past your prime, these guys are in their prime. And I could be dead and in a casket, it'd be better than Mick Foley. I'm not dead, I'm not in a casket. And Mick Foley's not gonna help you, no one's gonna help you. You signed the contract, the match is gonna take place at Bound for Glory. I'll be there to see it, you guys will be gone the next day.
Fortune, this is Mick Foley, saying that I respect and admire each and every one of you for what you do inside the ring. And you will have your time, but Bound for Glory will not be it. I'll see you there.
An event so big, it only happens once a century. Bound for Glory.
If I lose at Bound for Glory, I will retire.
This is an 11-year journey. Actions speak louder than words.
At Bound for Glory, Jeff Hardy could very well become TNA World Heavyweight Champion.
I feel like I did in the 1996 Olympic Games. I feel like I need to prove something all over again.
TNA Bound for Glory live, Sunday, October 10th on pay-per-view. An event so big, It only happens once a century. Bound for Glory. Anderson, Angle, Hardy. Who will capture the TNA World title on TNA Wrestling's biggest stage of them all? Rob Van Dam looks for redemption against the Monster Abyss. And Ric Flair's fortune goes to war with Mick Foley's EV2 inside Lethal Lockdown. TNA Bound for Glory live Sunday, October 10th on pay-per-view.